Anin, and welcome to another Word tutorial. In this tutorial, we're gonna dispel some myths about how difficult it is to place images in Microsoft Word. In this one and the next one, we'll look at some actually very simple things you can do to make image placement actually pretty easy, as long as you know a couple little tricks and understand how Microsoft Word handles images. So the conceit of this one is that we're going to be building a flyer for a found pet. This is based on an internet meme from a while back where someone found a lost pet, and was trying to reunite it with its owner, and it is not, in fact, a pet. It's a wild animal. So it's just a little funny joke. But we have two files to work with, so the video you were watching will be right here at the top of the tutorial. And then if you scroll down in the tutorial, you'll find two files, the start file and the start image. So we're going to click on start file, and that will try to download to your wherever the last folder you had open was, or maybe your downloads folder. I am going to go to my documents and find my ITECH 100 folder, and I'm going to rename it FLYER, flyer. Save. Next thing, we will need this image. It is a picture of an opossum. I'll open it in a new tab. There it is. And we're just going to say save image as. So I just right click on the image itself, save image as, and then once again, save it in my ITECH 100 folder. Hit save. There are other ways you can insert those images into the file that you're working with, but I'll show you basically both ways to insert the image. So, but one of them involves downloading the file onto your computer. So the next thing we're going to do is open the file. A couple of ways you can do it. If you're running Google Chrome or another flavor of Chrome like I am, I'm using the Brave browser, you can click here and it'll just open the file. The other thing you can do is open up your File Explorer, and it should be right at the top of your Quick Access, Recent Files. Click on flyer.docx, double click, and it will open up in Microsoft Word. Now, 1 second while I rearrange my windows. I'm going to put this one up here, maximize, enable editing because it was a file downloaded from the internet. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit, and then we can begin. So the first thing we want to do is reset the layout. So if this is going to be a flyer, and we want a flyer that is horizontally, we call it landscape orientation, and then we want some narrower margins so that we can use as much of the paper real estate as possible. So we'll go into the Layout tab, and we'll first go to the margins, and we'll go down to narrow margins. Just tucks things up into the corners, gives you a little bit more room to work with. For a flyer, that's necessary. You don't need all that extra white space around the outside. And modern printers can pretty much go right up to the edge of the paper without any problems. Next thing we want to do is change the orientation from portrait to landscape. So it's basically, imagine a piece of paper and rotating it 90 degrees so that it's wider than it is tall. So if I zoom out, by the way, you can change your zoom level with this little slider down here, or you can hold the control key and scroll the mouse wheel. If you're using a touchpad, I think you would hold the control key and then push forward with 2 fingers, which simulates using a scroll wheel. Other than that, you can just use this little slider in the bottom right corner, and that will cause the text to zoom in and out. Okay, let's first start. Once we have the text, so all the text is already in our flyer. These are the words that we want. What we want to do is start arranging this and formatting it. So the first thing we're going to do is select everything. Now, you can do this by clicking and dragging. What I prefer is to hold down the control key and hit A. So control A selects all. Control all, select all. And then we're going to center everything. So up here we have our alignment tools in the paragraph group. So right now everything's left aligned. So we're going to go here where everything will be center aligned. So you can see left, center, and right. And then justified, which just makes it so both sides are even. It's almost never necessary, except if you're doing if you're making a newspaper, then they have to be justified. Newsletters are often justified. Let's change some font sizes. So let's start with the first line. So we're going to deselect everything, and then we're just going to select this first line. And then we're going to bump that size up to 48. Nice and big. Then we're going to select everything else and bump it up to one size smaller. We'll go to 36. Next, we will add some fancy formatting. There's actually a couple of different ways you can do this in Microsoft Word. One way, we're going to select this second line here. And the first thing that we're going to try is these right here, which are called text effects. These are ways to add things like outlines, shadows, inner glow. You can do all sorts of little things that make your text kind of pop and stand out. And then to that end, they have these 15 like quick styles that are already predefined. We're going to take this top middle one, and that's going to add that. You know, actually, while I'm doing this, as you see that my screen is actually dark. It's black. Let's actually change that. Since we're doing this as a tutorial, I should probably have this as colorful. Okay. So that it looks like it will look when it prints. If you're doing a flyer or something, you should do that. So sorry about that. This is what yours should look like. Unless you have the dark theme on. Next thing we're going to do is change some font colors. So we're going to select these next two lines. Notice I'm actually clicking out here in the left margin. If you do that, it'll actually select the entire line. It's kind of handy, actually. So I click out here and drag down so that I'm selecting these two lines. And then we're going to change the color. So you have the text effects, and then you have highlighting, and then over here is font color. So we'll hit this little down arrow next to it, and I'm going to select this middle dark orange accent color. It's called Orange Accent 2 Darker 25%. And we'll click on it, and that'll make this orange text. So all of the colors that are in this little palette right here are called theme colors. So they're all like unified, sort of like mathematically or whatever. They're engineered by somebody with a degree in design, I'm sure, to look nice and be harmonious together. So all of these colors can be used with each other. You pick one or two of these kind of like hues and use those as your colors, and then you can actually drag and swap out themes at will, and it's actually pretty nice to be able to do. The standard colors are always the same. The theme colors are dependent on theme, and we'll talk about theme here in a little bit towards the end. Okay, so that's one way that we can change color. Now you can change the color of the text, but you can also change the color of the white space around the text. We call it shading. So I'm going to select the first paragraph here, this first line, and I'm going to go up to this little paint bucket tool in the paragraph group. I'm going to hit the down arrow, and once again I'm going to pick that dark orange color, and it'll change the whole top bar into orange. So this is kind of weird. I'm going to turn on non-printing characters for a second. You see the paragraph symbol here? If I select everything but that, it's not going to let me do that. If I select everything but that and change the background color, it'll just change that part. If I select everything and the paragraph symbol, it'll do the whole bar. It's kind of a weird little quirk. It gives you a little bit of extra control, but usually I find it nice to just do the whole paragraph. It'll go all the way to the extents of your margins. Now, it's generally considered appropriate when you have a dark background to have high contrast color as your text. So instead of having black text, we'll just swap that over to white. So white on a dark background always looks better. Now, before we deselect it, we're going to add one more little thing that's kind of cool. We're going to add borders. So right here is the border menu. If you select these by default, they'll add a 1 pixel black border around the whole paragraph. We're going to go into the borders and shading menu and kind of customize it. So we're going to do a full box border. So we'll click on box. We'll have it be solid. We're going to have it be a dark blue. So there's the orange, and we'll go to the dark blue just to the left. And we're going to make it a little bit bigger. We're going to make it like 2... let's see what the tutorial says. 2.25 pixels. 2.25 points. Click OK, and then you'll see there's this nice little blue border around there that kind of like accents it. Now, I'm going to show you maybe my favorite tool in this entire software suite, which is called the Format Painter right here. let's say I want to copy, I want to apply this same formatting to this text down here so that they kind of like bookend the whole page. Normally, I would have to highlight this text and then go through all those steps again. Change the background color, change the text color, add a border, and then make sure it's the same font size. I can actually do this in just a couple of clicks by automatically copying all of the formatting from this text to this using this tool called the Format Painter. So what I'll do is I'll select the first paragraph, and I'm going to do this maybe a couple of times for demonstration purposes. Then I'm going to select the Format Painter. So notice it's highlighted, and notice my cursor, my pointer is and now has a little paintbrush on it. So now if I highlight the bottom row, the bottom line, and let go, it'll automatically apply all of the formatting to that bottom line. So one more time, select the first row or the first line, click Format Painter, go down to the bottom line, select it, and it will pop it all in. And this is a really great tool for maintaining consistency of formatting throughout a document. It's really, really unbelievably handy. And I encourage anybody to use it. Okay, let's add an image. I'm going to show you two ways to do this. The first is by assuming that you have downloaded the file onto your computer and you want to insert it as a file. So I'm going to click, so the insertion point is at the end of the second line, and hit enter. And that creates a new line. That's where we're going to insert our image. So we would go up into the Insert tab, we would go to Pictures, we would insert picture from this device, and we would locate on our hard drive the documents. I put it in my ITECH 100 folder. There it is, this picture. And I hit Insert. And there it is. There's another way to do this, so I'm going to undo. And that way works just fine. But there's another way we can do this. We can go back in our web browser, and we can scroll back up, find that start image, and I'm going to open it up. I'm going to right-click on the link and open it in a new tab so that I can see the whole image in my web browser. Now I'm going to right-click on the image itself and click Copy Image. And what that's going to do is it's going to take all of the data that makes up this picture, and it's going to copy it to what's called the system clipboard, which is a thing you can't see, you can't touch, you can't even see what's inside it without trying to use it. So I'm going to click Image, and you won't immediately see anything happen, but now that image's data is stored in my system clipboard. So then I'm going to click here, and I'm going to right-click, and I'm going to hit Paste. And there's our possum. Now you'll notice, I'm going to zoom way out, that the possum is huge, and it takes up an entire piece of paper by itself. So we're going to fix that. So we will select this. Oh, this is actually very interesting. I'm using the newest version of Microsoft Word, which you may or may not have on your computer. But it automatically detected and added this alt text. Alt text, a picture containing a mammal. This is interesting because this is for ADA compliance. For anybody who is visually impaired and uses a screen reader, it will read this image as this text. And this is actually required for ADA compliance websites, and apparently they have added it as a feature to Microsoft Word. So if you want to resize this, the last thing you want to do is ever drag from these side handles, because it smushes your picture and you're never going to get it back to the same proportions. So instead, undo that. The undo button is also up here. It's in this little undo group, or sometimes, I think in older versions, it's actually up here in this top bar. So we are going to grab it from the corner. Always grab the corner handles. And we'll click it and we'll start dragging it inward until text starts popping up onto this page. And then let go when you kind of think it's close, and then just kind of do some fine tuning. And there it is. Our image is inserted. I'm going to zoom in just a bit so we can see the whole thing. The last thing we want to do with this image is I want to show you kind of some of the different tools that are available to manipulate images inside the Microsoft Word interface. right now, this picture is set to take up an entire, like, it's treated almost like it's a word or a character in some text. So it's actually on a line. This is why we created our own a new paragraph for this image. So it's going to basically just take up that entire row in the text. You could set this so that the text kind of wraps around the sides, but for our purposes, I think this looks better. So next, excuse me, you want to make sure that you have the image selected, and you know that it's selected by when you can see these handles on the corners and the sides. And you'll notice there's a new tab in the ribbon. It says Picture Format. So let's select that and see what we've got in here. These are all tools that can be used to change the way an image is laid out, change its size. You can actually precisely set its size in inches down to the 100th of an inch using these right here. You can crop the image by clicking that, and that will actually take away part of the image. What we want to do is we're just going to add some picture effects just because it looks kind of fun. Over here you have a couple of different tools you can use to add effects manually, or you can use these picture styles that automatically add in whatever style, a predefined set of styling options to the image. I'm just going to use this simple one right here, this soft edge oval, because I think it looks funny. I think it looks like one of those pictures from like the 80s. Gives it like this dreamlike quality. So that's the last main step we're going to do. The flyer is essentially done. I'm going to show you one last little thing. Remember how we talked about these theme colors? And what we can do with those now is we can go into this Design tab. If you've been using the theme tabs, you will have you'll have all these themes over here, and basically themes kind of drop in like a whole new color palette that will kind of change the whole look and feel of your document. So the office theme is the one that's kind of default, but then if I mouse over these, you'll see that it'll go through and change fonts, it'll change colors, it will change all sorts of little details about the way your picture is done. Now, if you pick one of these and it happens to push something off the edge, you may have to monkey around with the size of the image or some font sizes and things, because the default settings for each of these themes are different. I'm going to pick this one up here called Retrospect, which is just slightly darker, a little bit more richer colors and darker tones, and then I'm going to call that good. So I'm going to save it, and I hope this was useful to you. I'm going to walk you through uploading and turning this assignment in. We'll go into Canvas. All right, so in here we'll hit Start Assignment. We will choose a file. We will go to our ITECH 100 folder in Documents, ITECH 100, click the flyer, hit Open, and finally submit the assignment. And that's that. I hope this was useful to you, and the video got a little bit long, but I hope there was some useful information here, and we'll see you in the next one.